I'm live right now. This is kind of exciting. My name is Crispina French, and I am a textile recycling, used clothing recycling entrepreneur, artist, activist. I don't know. It's fun what I do. I like to make things and have it be fun and also have it benefit the environment. So I'm here today with actually on Instagram, you guys aren't going to be able to meet my amazing concierge, Carson, who is here to help out with any questions that might arise during my teaching session. So today is day number 2 in the Potholder rug study hall. And we're talking all about how to make, I got to jump up and get a rug to show you how to make these super cool potholder rugs that are made all 100% out of recycled used clothing that has passed its prime. And I try to find clothing that's not suitable for resale. So I'm here today with Carson, and this is Carson. Hi, Carson. We're feeling super savvy because we figured out how to screen share on Facebook and YouTube. So Carson will be with us during the whole teaching session today, which starts right at noon. So if you have any questions or things come to mind that you need help with, Carson's going to be able to field those questions. And then at the end of our teaching session, we'll allow time for a few minutes of questions and answers if those things are unanswered during the teaching. So if things come to mind that you're not sure about and you just want to make sure that you get the information you need to continue on with your potholder rug making process, just pop them right in the comments. And Carson will be here to make sure that we don't miss any of those at the end. So I just wanted to jump on a little early and say hey. And I wanted to welcome you all to the Potholder rug making study hall. So yesterday was day number 1. If you did not catch that, you can see a recording. Carson posted those on, are they posted? I think they're actually, yesterday's live session is on like a post on my Instagram feed. And then Carson, you posted those in YouTube, and is it available to see in YouTube as a rewatch?
Yeah. The recordings automatically are available on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram.
Cool. And then the other thing that's super cool that Carson and I have been working on over the last couple of weeks is a community called Stitcherhood. And that is, it's free of charge right now. It's kind of in a beta testing stage where we are posting the recordings and a transcription of the class from yesterday. And if you want to find the Stitcherhood posting, which actually has a little bit more information than just the recording that of the event yesterday. Carson, are you able to put that in the comments? Are you able to make a comment right now?
Yeah.
On the show. Okay, cool. So Carson's going to post that in the comments on Facebook and YouTube, and I'm not sure. I can't do that right now on Instagram, but I will put a link on Instagram when I'm finished with today's session. So did anybody see yesterday's session? Hi, Robin. Hi, Sandy. Oh, this is exciting, you guys. This is so fun. Hi, Jess from Dottie's. I just have to show you guys something kind of cool. See this tattoo on my hand is kind of, there it is. That is a tattoo I got, I don't know how long ago, a few years ago, from my girlfriend Jess. Has this beautiful little coffee shop in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. And she had this campaign. She said, if anybody wants to get a tattoo with my logo on it, you can't even tell it's a logo. It's so pretty, right? It's like the top of a coffee. It's like the top of like it's got a little heart. It's kind of hard to see, but anyway, if you get this tattoo, you can have free coffee for life. And I said, count me in, girl, because I love tattoos and I love coffee. So whenever I get to Pittsfield, I try to pop into her cute store right on North Street. If anybody's in the area, go by, say hi to Jess, get yourself a coffee. And yeah, community, that's what it's about for me. That's kind of the significance of this tattoo, is like about my community and about how I like to support that. So, hey, Michelle, you were here yesterday. That's awesome. So if any, let's see what else. I had some pretty, okay. Yesterday, I'll say this before we get started. Okay, actually, I'm going to save that question until we do get started. I just want to say in 3 minutes, right at noontime, we're going to kind of shift gears into a teaching session where I'm probably not going to be able to, well, let me just say, I'm not going to focus on the comments and questions that come in because it's a little distracting for me. I am really easily distracted, in case you didn't notice. So Carson's going to go off screen. They're going to be able to scroll through and answer any questions if there's something pressing that comes up, and compile a list of questions so that at the end of the teaching session, we can make sure we touch upon everybody's questions. If people come in late, which they always do, people find out, or maybe they forgot, or they're just running behind schedule, whatever. If you guys could be so kind as just to let people know that I am teaching, and I'll be happy to answer questions at the end. We'll do a Q&A. So you're going to be helping me record this awesome session that will later be posted on the platforms that we're using, and also in our community called Stitcherhood. So I really appreciate you being here today. Thank you. It's so nice to see Dorothea and Robin and Suzanne back from yesterday, and Lily. Hey, Lily. So welcome. And today we're going to kick things off in just a minute, but tell me again, if you're tuning in for the first time, how did you find out about this? Is this just something you stumbled across? Is it something that you've been holding onto on your calendar and you're excited to be here? I'd love to know a little bit more about what brought you to my live Potholder Rugs study hall teaching sessions this week. Let's see. So with, you can think about that and post it when you have a second. I think we should get started. Well, you know what? I think I should, I'm very rarely early. And right now I'm running a little early. So I think I'm gonna wait. Oh, cool. IG announced you were live when I opened the app, and that is from Reduce, Reuse, and Remake. So I think we might be kindred spirits. I think that might be going on right now, because if you reduce, reuse, and remake, yeah, that's what I do too. And I'm just so passionate about it, and I'm really excited. I'm so excited. Are you excited too to learn about all the amazing, cool people who are really focused on this aspect of creativity? I mean, honestly, you guys, like, I started doing this 30 years ago. I know, hard to believe because I look like I'm 32. Not really, but 30 years ago when I was a college student, I kind of like was a little embarrassed to tell people what I was using for raw materials. And today, it's kind of like all the rage, and people are catching on, and it's really, we are making an impact in our global stream of textile waste. And the more we can encourage others to participate and to support our businesses, if that's what we're doing, the better off we all are. So it would be a really great day if one day it's hard to get a hold of garbage. Wouldn't that be awesome? Awesome. See you there. Just realized that today she can comment because we are super cyber. We figured out how to make it possible to comment on YouTube today. Yesterday, it was a little tricky. We didn't realize until after the teaching session was over that comments were not coming through from YouTube. So I'm so glad you came back. Thank you. And thanks for your comments. I really look forward to hearing your questions and your ideas and experiences. So share them generously. Okay, so now it's 12 o'clock, a little past 12. And like I said, Carson's going to stay with us, but they're going to be behind the scenes and helping with any kind of tech stuff that comes up. And we are going to dive into day 2 of our Potholder Rug Study Hall. So let's see, I'm going to go here, there. I guess that's all. I didn't need to do anything. Carson's got everything under control. It's so awesome. Okay, so day 2. Today, we are going to talk about all the steps that you need to take to make an awesome potholder rug. And just for anybody who's not familiar, I'm just going to show a potholder rug is, this is a potholder rug, and you can really make these rugs in so many different styles. Like this one's really bright and colorful, would look awesome in like a kid's room or like a nursery, but you can make them in all different kinds of colors. And here's a neutral one that would really lend itself nicely to kind of like a more modern, maybe a urban setting. Hold on, my rug loom's falling over here. Excuse me. So today, sorry about that. Off camera for a second. Okay, so today we're going to talk all about how to get started, right? Yesterday we talked about potholder rugs in general and what they are good for and how people have used the process to do all sorts of really cool things, from making wedding gifts using materials from all different wedding guests to raising money for different organizations, to making beautiful commemorative rugs for people who have passed away using their clothing. And there's people who, like myself, who make potholder rugs out of clothing that I don't have any real connection to other than I really like to recycle. And I have a business that I've been doing that, like I said, it's been over 30 years. I can't believe it. The first potholder rug I ever made is 30 years old, and it's on the floor of my office. And I hope that tomorrow I remember to bring it with me so I can show you. So the first thing that you need to start thinking about, well, actually yesterday, before I go off on the first thing, yesterday I left off by saying there is one obstacle that kind of stops people dead in their tracks and keeps people from moving through this process with success and a beautiful rug. And I'm wondering if you can guess what that one obstacle might be. Like if you're thinking about making a potholder rug. What are you going like, how am I going to do this? I need X. Like, what is that X? What is it that you need to get from the course that's going to help you be successful with this process? I see there's a bunch of comments. I'm so happy that you're here with me too. Okay, space, a loom. Yeah, yep. I think that is, the looms are the thing that comes to mind. To me, that is like the most common thing that I get asked. So looms are really simple. They're so simple. And in order to keep it super easy for people, I am going to talk to you a little bit about looms. I'm going to show you some looms. And I'm going to tell you about the first potholder rug that I ever made. And I made, this is a little bit of recapping from yesterday, but I'll share the story because it's a good one. So when I started making potholder rugs, because I had a production company, I employed 40 people, and we made home furnishings like the blanket behind me. We made clothing and mittens and stuffed toys. We had a pretty large array of products that we were producing and selling to stores all over the world. And I had amassed this giant pile of materials that wasn't useful for any of the products we were manufacturing. Things that had holes and stains, things that were made out of synthetic materials that weren't shrinking. At the time, my business was very focused on wool sweaters. And part of the process was shrinking the sweaters to create a felt. And if I had materials that didn't felt, or that had, were dirty, or were like on a completely non-traditional shape that was hard to cut in a kind of standardized way, they all went into this pile. And initially I was donating that pile of clothing to local artists or schools that were using it for craft material. Or if it was wearable, I'd give it to the local thrift stores. But my supply was far outweighing the demand. So one day I just was like, okay, this is costing me a ton of money and I don't know how best to handle this. So what's the answer? And I came into the studio, and if I remember correctly, it was on a weekend, there was nobody around. And I was just like, okay, here's this pile. I just need to like really look at this without distraction and just figure this out. And it was almost like, I wasn't really even thinking that hard about it. I just came in to kind of like ascertain like what's in this pile. And there in my studio, there was a pile of canvas stretchers that my mom had given me. She was a painter, and she had kind of stopped painting in a large format and was really more focused on watercolors at that point. And a box of finishing nails, like, super flimsy, very like almost like very lightweight finishing nails. So I put together 4 canvas stretchers, and I remember to this day, it was a 30-inch square. And I measured around the frame and I put nails in it every inch apart, all the way around the 4 sides. And that was my very first loom. So if a loom is what's perplexing you about this process, you can start with that super easy, very simple, very low cost trajectory and see if you love making looms, or sorry, if you love making potholder rugs, you can buy or make yourself a more sturdy loom, but you can certainly get started with very little simple tools. And, you know, I had like a tiny little tack nail hammer and these nails, and the canvas stretchers were just like canvas stretchers, they fit together. So minimal tools. In the meantime, I do make and sell loom kits and looms from my shop, but this is not about selling you product. I just want to show you the sizes of the looms that I do sell. So this loom is the smallest size loom that I make. And it was initially designed as a loom to make chair pads, which are a really great way to introduce yourself, or you know, kids, or if you have a short window of time where you can work with people to make potholder rugs, it's a nice way to do it because they're very quick. In the meantime, I discovered a way, or developed a way, to take that size piece that's a finished, like a chair pad size, it's made on this loom, it's a 15-inch square, and you can make room size rugs out of 15-inch square components that get woven together after they're finished. So you are right, everybody that guessed the loom. That is exactly the biggest question that I am asked by people when they're trying to get started with potholder rugs. The other thing I want to say is that when you start with a small loom like that, you really don't need a ton of space. You can just, you know, you can really use like you can put it on your desk. It's not like a, you know, big room size loom, which takes up so much space. I do have looms that make 5 by 7 foot rugs, and they are 7 by 10 feet. So they get, you know, they shrink in. If you've ever made a potholder on a traditional potholder loom, you'll know that when you take the potholder off the loom, they get quite a bit smaller. And that's by design. That's part of the making process. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted with the comments because I love to chat with people, but I'm not going to go there today. So, okay, so we're going to go through the step-by-step process. So the first thing you need to do is get a hold of a loom. And actually, that's not the first thing you want to do. The first thing you want to do is think about, what kind of rug do you want to make? Do you want to make a small rug? Do you want to make a chair pad? Do you want to make a bath mat, a door, an entry, like welcome mat? Or do you want to make something that's like a living room sized rug, which could be as big as, I mean, I've made rugs that are 12 by 14 feet. So once you decide upon the type of rug that you want to make and the color, you want to think about size and color, then you can start thinking about how that will come about, like what size loom. So if you want to make a room size rug, you're going to need to make components, and you could very possibly make those components on the smallest loom, like something this size. Okay. If you want to make a welcome mat or like an entryway mat rug, I'm just trying to balance all my tools around me. There's also looms available in my shop. And like I said, this is just to give you a visual. This loom is the size that makes the rug I was holding up before, the kind of brightly colored rainbow rug. And then I have also this middle-sized loom, which is about, the big loom is about 40 by 50 inches. And then that makes like a welcome mat size. And then this loom is about 30 by 40 inches. And that makes kind of a really nice bath mat sized rug. So you can choose. So when you're figuring out, like if you want to make a rug that is, let's say 30 by 40 inches, you want a loom that's 40 by 50 inches, because you lose anywhere from like 25 to 30% of your size when you get it off the loom, because of the nature of how it's woven. So you got your loom figured out, you got your size loom figured out. Then you're going to start thinking about your design and your colors. So do you want it to be something like super monochromatic and sort of soft spoken and really gentle, something that's going to bring a layer of softness to maybe an austere, modern, concrete floor kind of environment? Or are you looking for something really bright and colorful to add a little pop of color to maybe an otherwise kind of neutral interior? Maybe you want to make your dog bed or your dog a bed. My dogs love these carpets. I actually put them inside my dog crates, and they're easy to care for. They're super soft. They're cozy. The dogs love them. So those things are things to consider. Then when you have those two things kind of thought through and you're kind of thinking, okay, this is what I'm going for, then you're going to start collecting your materials. So material collection, I mean, one of my favorite statistics is something that I find kind of astounding, and that is that in the United States where I live, the average person throws away over 80 pounds of used clothing every year. And when I say throw away, I mean they get rid of them. So 15% of that, 15% of that is recycled, meaning it's brought to like the thrift store or the boxes that you sometimes see where clothing donations go. And that goes into a stream of businesses that recycle used clothing for a whole gamut of different purposes. Thrift stores, a lot of it's so crazy. Like I've learned so much about this over the years. A lot of the cotton material goes to the paper industry. A lot of the wool that goes to, they make the inside of car hoods. There's like a layer of it looks like cardboard that's black. That is made out of recycled wool. And wool has all sorts of interesting attributes, like it doesn't burn, it's self-extinguishing. It's very insulating. It's antimicrobial. So there's all sorts of interesting kind of bizarre uses for wool. Cotton, they make insulation. If you've seen, sometimes they advertise the insulation is made out of recycled denim. There's all different kinds of uses. The things that are hardest to recycle are the things that are made out of synthetic fibers. So things like polyester, modal, nylon, whatever, all you know what they are. The non-natural fibered garments are very difficult to recycle by industry. They sometimes get made into other plastic-ish fiber like clothing, textiles, but generally speaking, it's really hard to recycle those things. So if you are looking to recycle, to be like super environmental with your potholder rug making process, there are really cool ways to access your materials. And the first thing you can do is look in your closet. If you're like me, I mean, I circulate my clothing often because sometimes I'm like, well, that's a really nice sweater. I think I'll wear that sweater for my Day-2 study hall, even though it actually came right from the thrift store. And the intention was like, this would be a perfect sweater to make into one of my rainbow rugs. But it fits really nice. I really like the material. It's the perfect thing for today's weather. So it's not going into a rug for a little while. So after you've gone through your own clothing stash, ask your friends. Ask your friends' friends. Go, reach out to your family members. Everybody, I mean, that statistic, right? 15% gets recycled. 85% of everybody's clothing goes to the landfill or the incinerator. And both of those destinations are really detrimental to our well-being on this planet. Not just our well-being, but the biosphere in general. So the more recycling that we can bring into our creative process, the better off we all are, and the better impact that we're making. And we're being role models. We're teaching people that there is a use for things that they might think of as garbage. So there's all sorts of other ways you can go about collecting material. There are, I often, and actually this is kind of interesting, I post on my website, I have what we're taking for donations today. And right now I'm taking brightly colored stretchy clothing because I'm working on a bunch of rainbow rugs. We take denim, we're making picnic blankets. So we take all different kinds of materials at different times of the year. I get so much material sent to me that it's a little overwhelming. So we're actually developing a directory for people who want to join my membership that will be able to access that. That's kind of an aside. That's not really what we're talking about today, but if you have a social media presence of any kind, even if you've got like 20 friends, like post it on your social media. There's also sites like Free Cycle, and there's other ones that are like free, like neighborhood. There's one called Next Door where it's like your local community where you can just put a call out for whatever materials that you might be looking for. One thing that I want to remind you is that if you tell people, and actually I have a funny story about this, I take used clothing and people know that. And like my local community, sometimes I'll just, get to my studio in the morning and there'll be like a box or a bag of clothing on the porch of my studio. And one morning I was at the studio with my daughter who was going to Zoom school because, COVID. And I said, "Hey, Lou, did you see somebody just pull in the driveway? Like, who did you see who that was?" And she's like, "Yeah, I don't know who it was. Some guy just got out and he left something on the porch." So I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." So I went out on the porch and sure enough, there's this big bag of clothing. And what's in the bag? It was chock full of bras, like double D bras. Well, I wear a 34A. I was like, what on earth? Like bras? I've never made a potholder rug out of bras. I'm not going to rule it out, but like it's not my first choice of materials. So be specific when you're asking for materials. You might want to just say no bras, or you're looking for brightly colored material. Or so for potholder rugs, you want stretchy material, especially when you're first getting started. You definitely want stretchy. So I brought a bunch of stuff here to show you. Like this is kind of my daughter's sweatshirt, but this would make great loops. Pullover hoodies. And this, this stuff is actually stains, holes. Potholder rugs is very forgiving. So any kind of non-wearable, past its prime clothing is really perfect for this process. And these are all brightly colored because I'm working on the rainbow rugs. This, like a long skirts, these are lightweight. This one is probably a blend of like acrylic or polyester, and there might be some cotton in there, but it really doesn't matter fiber content so much. T-shirts are great. Any kind of t-shirt. I'm just going to stand up so you can see the stuff a little bit more easily. And the bigger size clothing, if you're buying clothing, the bigger size clothing that you can find, the better, because you get more yardage per garment. If if you saved all your kids' clothing since they were little and now they're going off to college, tiny little t-shirts work great. Like you can use this for any size garment works. You do not need to worry about the size of the garment. These are kind of like sweatpants, stains, holes. Those are going to be great. Long sleeve t-shirts. We can even get into stuff like these are, like stretch pants. Like these are corduroy, but you can, if there's a stretch to it, they will work. So, any kind of long johns, tights, leggings, stuff like, if you're going through your closet or your dresser now that the seasons are changing and you're getting rid of stuff that might have gotten damaged over the winter, any kind of stretchy stuff works. The other things that work great are single socks. Everybody's got bags and bags of single socks. So I actually am working on a rug. I'm going to show it tomorrow in the day 3 session that is all made out of single socks. And it's gorgeous. And like, who knew, right? That like you could turn single sock, and never mind the cool rug, you guys. There's no more single socks. You got to try to match up with all the rest of your socks. Like in the laundry, it just makes everything so much better. So it doesn't matter how thin or thick they are. It doesn't matter if they're mixed fiber. You can do the potholder rug process is so forgiving. If all the rugs I make are a mixture of cottons and wools and polyesters and spandex, and anything will work. It does not matter. It doesn't matter as long as it's stretchy and it's textile. Like it's the sky is the limit. The other thing that the things I showed you were all pullovers. This type of a sweatshirt that has the zipper in the front is totally fine as well. Like you can, cardigans, sweat, these are like a kind of a sweatpant kind of thing, yoga pants. anything like that is totally fine. So one of the questions I saw on the feed from yesterday's class was like, how much material do you need to collect? And by general rule of thumb, and I think in weight often rather than number of garments, but the average square foot of rug weighs about a pound. And a pound of clothing varies, obviously. A sweater like the one I'm wearing probably weighs about a pound. T-shirts, probably 3 per pound. So if you're going to start your first rug, you want to make a welcome mat out of T-shirts that you have. Maybe you have a giant collection of T-shirts from all the road races you've run in the last 25 years. You're going to need about 36 T-shirts. If you want to make chair pads, and the thing, you could make one chair pad probably out of one garment. But the way that I like to work is with color selection and texture variation and that kind of thing. And that's kind of like part of what draws a lot of people to the potholder rugs to start with. So if you're making a chair pad, you probably want to start with like 5 or 6 different garments just to give yourself, the color choices and the textural change within the rug. So it kind of has that richness. So that is kind of the material aspect of things. Let me just check my notes here and see what I did not touch upon yesterday or today that we might need to. Okay, so what kind of material we talked about? Oh, people are asking yesterday about how wide to cut your material. And that really depends upon the dense, like, is it a t-shirt or is it a bulky sweater? So what you want to do when you're cutting your loops, you want your loops to be about equal in volume. So if you're using like a tissue weight t-shirt, that's like, those tissue weight t-shirts that are kind of see-through, you're going to cut your loop 5 or 6 inches wide. Whereas if you're cutting a sweater that's kind of bulky, like the one I'm wearing, you could, you probably want to go 2 inches wide, something like that. So with all of that said, I would love to turn it over to a question and answer series. Now, I think that I saw a bunch of questions on the feed as I was scrolling up. So Carson is going to send me over questions that you guys have been posting. And sorry, I'm like, Instagram, I'm still here. I'm just looking at the questions, which are like behind my phone. If you could see my setup, you would laugh. Okay. Okay. Somebody was asking about cutting sweaters and whether or not it will cause them to unravel. That is such a good question. It's something that I ask quite often. And generally speaking, sweaters really don't unravel when you cut them. Some sweaters do. Sweaters that are made out of cotton that are like not a sweatshirt, but a sweater that's actually woven out of like a cotton knit where you can see like the knit structure, and those will tend to unravel a little bit. However, when you're weaving that type of material into a rug, the actual weave structure of the rug itself holds the materials together. So it really doesn't cause too much of an issue. So really, you don't need to worry about it. I mean, the number of garments that are actually cotton sweaters, which is, I should have brought one with me to show you, and I'm sorry I didn't. But if you have a cotton sweater and you cut it and it's just starting to unravel everywhere and you're like, not so sure I want to do this, I think it's going to make a messy rug, don't use it. But really, I think like 99% of the sweaters that I've cut to use for rugs really just don't have that issue. If you have a sweater that is made out of wool or cashmere or angora or like any kind of animal fiber sweater, you can throw it in the washing machine and dryer before you cut it, and that will keep the edges stable. And actually, I wash and dry all my materials before I get started. I don't care what they are. I don't care if they shrink. It doesn't matter. I just want them to be clean. I want to be working with something that I know is freshly laundered and just nice and fresh and clean. So Rebecca Harrison on YouTube wants to know, how do I join the pieces? Joining pieces is a little tricky and it's a little hard to show you here, but it's totally like it does not matter what size garment you use for what for rugs. So the one thing I am going to tell you is if you're that one of the reasons why you want to choose your rug size, or I'm sorry, your loom size before you start cutting your material is because when you use that small loom, most of your loops are going to be longer than your loom is wide. And in that case, I call it hair tying. You're going to wrap that loop around twice. So instead of having a circle that's like this wide, if you double it, you're going to have a circle that's half as wide. And then you can loop the next loop onto that and put it on the loom. So I hope that helps. How can you use, okay, let's see. Gail Kincaid asked, how can you use all of the garment, even the part that isn't a loop? Okay. It's this platform makes it possible to do a lot of teaching, but there's the intricacies of actually cutting and that sort of thing is a little tricky. So I actually do have a masterclass that this free series leads into. So all the details that are hard to explain here I've made videos of them for the masterclass, and that will be something we can talk more about tomorrow. But I have cut my materials, so I have my scrap factor, and taken, like, I've been doing this for 30 years, but my scrap factor is about 2 to 3%. So if I have 100 pounds of clothing and I want to make rugs, I can cut that and have about 2 or 3 pounds of scrap when I'm done. And the other 97 or 98 pounds are looped material ready to make into rugs. So that is something that I will dive right into in the masterclass. It's super efficient. There's a super efficient kind of method to making loops. So let's see. How's that? Does anybody else have questions? I don't want to miss anybody. I think I saw a question. Let's see. The cardigans and clothing that's open in the front, before I cut that, I sew it together. So I sew it on my sewing machine. So what I would like for you guys to do before I head off into the wild blue yonder until tomorrow for day 3, take a picture of the materials that you have around your house or that you might have collected for your potholder rug making, and post them up in the comments. I can't wait to see them. We'll talk more about all of that tomorrow. Tell me what size rug you want to make. Tell me a little bit about the rug that you have in mind, your dream potholder rug, and then take a picture of the materials that you might have. You could just take a picture of stuff that you just are not sure what to do with and you've been holding on to forever. You could take a picture of clothing that you are sick of and you're never going to wear again and you're waiting to find the right place for it. Post a picture, tell me what you want to make, and let's regroup here tomorrow at noon when we will talk more about all of those things and answer any questions that come up. So put it on your calendar if it's not already. Tomorrow, noontime, day number 3. And then Thursday, we'll do our final session, day number 4 of our Potholder Rug Study Hall. And I just want to say thank you so much for being here today, for spending your time with me, and for all of your interest in textile recycling. You guys, before I go, I want to leave you with this one statistic. In the United States, textile waste recently surpassed in volume, meaning like pounds of waste, plastic waste. So we have some rugs to make, my friends. We have some work to do. We can turn all of that into the most awesome, useful, beautiful, functional, artistic, and creative and cozy rugs. So I'm really happy that you're here with me today, and I'm so excited to see you again tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day.